What's up, Cubers? Cube of Always here. Let's get cubing. In this video, I'm going to be answering some of the most common non-cuber questions. One of the most common misconceptions in speed cubing is that speed cubing will commonly relate to math. The truth is that while these two are similar, they do not relate in any way. It's actually just memorizing a bunch of algorithms, which are sequences of moves. So despite being called algorithms, they aren't actually related to math. Some people believe that solving a cube just requires a specific trick in order to solve it. And while that's not exactly the case, many speed cubers do use methods in order to solve the cube. A beginner will often solve the cube by making a cross on one face. After the cross has been solved, they will find the four corners of said face where the cross was solved on, and then solve said pieces into the spot where they would normally be when the cube is solved. Once the corners have been solved, they will then solve the edges in the middle layer of the cube into their spots, forming the first two layers of the cube. Now all we have to solve is the top layer, and we simply solve that by orienting all the edges to be on the same face. And then we proceed by orienting the corners, and then we permutate the corners so that they're in their solved positions, and finally we finish it off by solving all of the edges. So now that you know all the techniques that we use in order to solve the cube, here's what an actual solve of a cube would look like. Yes, I'm not kidding. That was actually a 14-second solve. One pretty major assumption is that a lot of people think that Rubik's brands, because they were the company to invent the cube, they are just straight up the best, and this is 100% false. In reality, many speed cubes that you can buy from major cubing stores are actually going to be a lot better, simply because you can turn them a lot faster, and the cubes themselves just perform better as they are a lot more flexible and solid overall than a Rubik's brand would be. One pretty common belief, not just criticism, but a belief, is that it is illegal to lubricate your speed cube or apply lube onto your cube. And the truth is, this is also false. Many non-cubers are just stupid and will assume stuff. The main purpose behind lubing your cubes is that it just makes them better, and max performance is always 100% necessary when cubing. Different cubers will prefer their cubes to be set up differently, as some people may prefer a faster cube, a slower cube, a looser cube, or a tighter cube. The reason for these different setups is because it helps with competitions. In official competitions, you'll take off the cube cover, or more appropriately, your judge will take it off, and you'll have 15 seconds to inspect the cube. Then you'll start the timer, and then you'll have to solve. At competitions, many cubers will get nervous as they are going to be solving at a faster speed than what they are used to. So the important thing is that you can normally have a slower cube in competitions, and it'll work out just fine. One thing that I see all the time when I'm talking to non-cubers is that when they see anything that's not a 3x3, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, "Whoa, is that a 10x10? And no, it is not. Count the pieces. This is clearly a 7x7. Just by looking at it, you can tell. Anyone with a brain will know that that's a 7x7. And by the way, there are some other examples. We have stuff like Pyraminx. A lot of people will assume that this is not actually a Pyraminx, and it's called the Rubik's Triangle. But by the way, that is also wrong, so get your names right. It's called Pyraminx because it's 3D. A triangle is 2D. So understand how your cubes work, or I guess more specifically how our cubes work. You guys don't cube, so you guys need to understand it from our perspective. And one more thing, stop calling this a Super Rubik's Cube. It is a Megaminx. A Megaminx, you hear me? Does this look like a Super Rubik's Cube? If it was, it would be a shape mod that no one would care about. And for comparison, here is a Kilominx. A Megaminx and a Kilominx are dodecahedron, so understand that. And stop assuming the names of these cubes. And if you thought that I was done there, you are totally wrong, because we still have to talk about 2x2. Everyone calls this the 4 cube because it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. But no, that's not right. It is not a 4 cube. It's a 2 by 2 because it goes 2 by 2 by 2. Look at it. You can see that it goes 2 by 2 by 2 because there are 2 layers on every side of the cube. So now you understand. Now you've definitely seen two-handed solves, but have you seen one-handed? Probably not. One-handed is a subset of 3x3 which often requires a lot more skill to get good at, as the rankings are a lot harder to reach the top as it would be for normal 3x3. The other reason why one-handed it requires a lot more skill is because you're limited to only doing 2 specific moves of the cube, and they're only mainly going to be using 2 of your fingers, which is why one-handed is often a less skilled event with many casual solvers. Bigger cubes like 4x4 and up often lead to some assumptions that we solve bigger cubes differently than we would a 3x3. And while that is the case, it's not that much different. All we do is that we solve all of the center pieces of the big cube. Once all the centers have been solved, we proceed to solve all of the edges. Once we have all of the edges solved, it's essentially become just a 3x3, and we can solve it using normal 3x3 algs. Notice how I'm scrambling the cube right now? This is supposed to represent what a non-cuber would do to scramble the cube. They often assume that the cube will become impossible to solve after you scramble it for long enough, and this is absolutely not the case. Any solution for the cube can be found, and it will usually only take at most 20 moves if you're doing it move optimally. Now, one more thing that you could assume is that instead of solving it with a method like CFOP, you just reverse the scramble. And finally, the last thing about non-cubing, corner twists. This is your fault, you idiots. We do not corner twist cubes, let alone take out the edges. If you see something like this with an edge flipped, that is 100% solvable. You just need to take out the edge because the pieces are designed and so that there are 3 colors on each side, and they are built into the plastic, and they're not all. Additionally, this white, red, green corner will always be a white, red, green corner, and this white, green edge will always be a white, green edge. You can never change that about the cube. So when you see a corner twisted or an edge flipped, just realize that this is all the non-cuber's mistake. They intentionally did that to make the cuber themselves twist the corner so they could say, "Hey, you can't do that, you're cheating!" And to all those people, stop doing that. You're being annoying, and you don't belong in the cubing community, or near a cuber ever. So go ahead and get your life straightened out. But in all seriousness, I don't mean any offense to non-cubers during the making of this video. This video was simply made out of pure annoyance because so many non-cubers happen to ask the questions that I'm trying to answer by making this video. And hopefully, all my fellow cubers out there will share this video to their non-cuber friends so that they will never ask one of these questions ever again. And if you're a non-cuber who's still going to ask these questions after this video, then my advice is to just get into cubing, and so that you won't find yourself asking these questions. It's better for my sanity, the cubing community sanity, and more or less your sanity. It does a great job of making you better when it comes to just understanding how cubing works in general. And it really does add up over time. So that's going to be all for this video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on cubing. Yeah.
That TV for you?
No, but that's pretty close.